Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're jumping into a topic that honestly, so many of us can relate to. The 5 signs that your kindness might actually be hurting you more than it's helping. So, let me just ask you this straight up. Have you ever felt that pit in your stomach, that wave of guilt, just for thinking about saying no, even when you know you're stretched to your absolute limit? If you're nodding along right now, well, you're definitely in the right place. You see, there's a really fine line between genuine, heartfelt kindness and what's actually just a lack of personal boundaries. And the difference is huge. Real kindness, it's energizing. It comes from a place of choice and self-respect. But this other kindness, well, that's draining. It's driven by fear, and it almost always ends in resentment. It's less of a personality trait and more of a survival mechanism, you know? All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to walk through 5 major signs that your kindness might be crossing over into people-pleasing territory. And then, most importantly, we're going to talk about the path back to self-respect. So let's kick things off with our very first sign, the habit of over-explaining every single time you have to say no. We're about to see why just being clear is your most powerful tool. And this right here gets to the absolute heart of it. You might think giving a whole laundry list of excuses strengthens your case, right? But it actually does the opposite. It weakens your boundary. Let's really break this down. The weak approach is when you justify your no. You're basically asking for permission to have a boundary, which just opens the door for someone to argue with you or try to negotiate. But the strong approach? It's just a simple, clear no. It's a statement of self-respect. It doesn't need a defense, and it slams that door to negotiation shut. Okay, let's move on to sign number 2, feeling constantly emotionally burned out. So ask yourself, have you become the go-to support system for, well, pretty much everyone? Oh man, this quote just hits home, doesn't it? It's that moment where you finally realize you've been carrying the emotional weight for everybody else for so long that you just can't anymore. It's not just feeling tired, it's a deep, fundamental shift. And there's actually a name for this. It's called a boundary awakening. It's that light bulb moment, usually after years of feeling drained, where you see with total clarity that your lack of boundaries is the real problem. And you know right then and there that something's got to give. And that leads us right into our third sign, which is all about your motivation. It's the quest for validation. Is your kindness coming from a place of genuine generosity, or is it really a hunt for approval? And there it is. That's the core issue. If your whole identity, your sense of self, is tied up in being seen as the nice or helpful one, then saying no feels like a direct threat to who you are. It's terrifying. So let's look at the 2 mindsets here. On one side, you've got external validation. This is needing other people's approval to feel good about yourself. Your good deeds are kind of for show. On the other side, you've got an internal locus of control. This is when you have a stable sense of who you are. You know your time and energy are precious, and you invest them wisely, not just to get a pat on the back. All right, sign number 4. This one's a big one. Reacting emotionally to every little thing that comes your way. Let's talk about the incredible power you get back when you choose not to respond. I love this because it's so incredibly empowering. The next time you feel that knee-jerk impulse to jump in and defend yourself or explain yourself, just pause. Remember that your peace is worth protecting, and sometimes the strongest move is no move at all. So what's really going on here? Well, every time you have a big emotional reaction, you're essentially handing the remote control to your feelings over to someone else. But when you have strong boundaries, you learn not to take everything so personally. You start to realize that how other people act, it's usually about their stuff, their own internal battles. It has absolutely nothing to do with your worth. And finally, we have arrived at our 5th sign, a pattern of ignoring obvious red flags. You know that little voice, that feeling in your gut? Yeah, it's trying to tell you something really important. There's a cool psychological term for this gut feeling. It's called psychological reactance. It's your brain's natural, hardwired instinct to push back when you feel like your freedom is being threatened. Think of it as your own personal alarm system. So get this, when you see a red flag and you choose to ignore it just to be nice, what you're actually doing is silencing your own internal alarm system. You're actively suppressing a natural instinct that's designed to protect you, and that can be really dangerous. Okay, so we've gone through all the signs. The big question now is, what do we do about it? let's talk about the path forward, the way to move from that feeling of chaos to a place of genuine calm and self-respect. And listen, the very first step, it's actually pretty simple, but it is so profound. Just the fact that you're watching this and recognizing these patterns in yourself, that's a massive win because awareness always comes before change. So we're not talking about some massive life overhaul here. Let's break it down into two manageable steps. Step one is awareness. Just acknowledge what's happening without beating yourself up over it. And step two is adjustment. Notice I didn't say elimination. You don't always have to cut people out completely. Sometimes you just need to reduce their access. So what does reducing access even look like in real life? It's about being way more protective of three key things: your time, your personal information, and your emotional availability. These are your most valuable resources, and you get to decide who gets them. So, as we wrap things up, I want to leave you with one small, actionable question to chew on. What is just one no you can say this week? Just one thing that will protect your peace and help you take a step toward building that self-respect you deserve. Thanks so much for watching.